Hello guys. Today I'm excited because we were talking about worlds, and can I just say this was a great world. Like, so many people had a moment. It was a great way to end the season. We have, spoiler alert, back-to-back champions in both the ladies and the men, and we saw a lot of familiar faces which I had missed. A lot of redemption arcs, some people that were a little bit disappointed with their performances, but overall I think most people had a stable, consistent performance, which is something I rarely say anymore because a lot of people are just so inconsistent from competition to competition. But this world, I think, showcased a lot of highs and a lot of joy, and it just, I don't know, it made me feel really warm inside. So let's just jump right into it. If you don't already know, I'm probably only going to be talking about the men and the ladies with one special shout out for the pairs winners. But let's start this with the men. Boyoung Jin. If you're thinking, why am I talking about Boyoung Jin? I don't care because I love Boyoung Jin. He was just, in 2018, he had a really good season. He was adorable. He was part of Team Cricket when Medvedeva went to the cricket club, so he will always have a special place in my heart because he was part of that cast of characters that was skating alongside Medvedeva under the tutelage, under the coaching of Brian Orser, and it was just so nice to see him again. I feel like I hadn't seen him in forever. We hadn't seen him in forever, and that being said, he did not have a great competition. His costumes were also not great, and his performance was underwhelming at best, landing him in 22nd place. But I still feel very, very excited whenever I see him. So it was just nice to see him again. Then we had probably one of the most talked about parts of the men's competition. It is Daniel Grassl, who continues to be a very polarizing person now in the world of figure skating, just because he's now under Team Tutberidze, who was, ironically enough, the rivals to Team Cricket. So having them talking about them back to back is kind of funny. And he also had a rough competition. Although confusingly, he looked like he felt relieved after his performance. Like, he didn't look completely distraught. He just felt relief. He was like, yeah, that was not too bad, right? And given the results of his past competitions, I feel like he just felt relieved to be over with it. I think that relief comes from the fact that he's just done with the pressure and done with the scrutiny after this performance, at least for a little bit. Yeah, but if we're being honest, the main reason his presence at this competition gave so much to talk about is because Eteri actually traveled to Worlds for him. And yeah, she has Morisi in there, but she's never traveled for Morisi. It's always for the girls, and since the girls are banned, she now travels for her probably highest profile skater in her camp right now that is allowed at international competitions, Daniel Grassl. And it's the first time we've seen her with Daniel Grassl at a competition. Last time we only had Danny and Dudakov, and seeing them interact, it feels like they don't have much of a relationship in terms of trust, and that's rough because going to a new environment with a new coach is always going to be a rough patch and it's going to be intense. But the easiest way to kind of get out of that, the easiest way to transition, have a smooth transition into, success, is if you build a strong connection with your coach. And from what I saw, there really isn't a strong connection, because if Eteri was happy to be back in international competitions, I honestly couldn't tell, because her body language, especially at the kiss and cry alongside Daniel Grassl, was ice cold. She didn't even make eye contact, just looked down. I don't know, the body language and the connection there I think is very much missing, and I'm hoping that the other man, whoever was sitting next to him, I'm guessing it's an Italian speaker or a translator, kind of aids Daniel going through this very rough time. I think next season he's gonna have some time to work on his skills and his technique a little bit more, but this transition has been messy at best, and seeing the lack of connection, the lack of support from Team Tutberidze and Eteri Tutberidze herself at this competition, it doesn't really bode well for his future. Because to me, and maybe it was just me, Eteri kind of felt distant at the kiss and cry, and their interactions felt disconnected, I guess is the best way to say. Overall, in the competition, Daniel Grassl ended up in 12th place, which again, not a great outing for Daniel Grassl, but I do think he feels just relief to be over and done with it. And seeing Eteri back on an international competition was kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Then we have Keegan Messing, who ended up in 7th place, but it doesn't really even matter because this was probably the last competition of his entire career, because he's retiring at the age of 32. This sentence is almost impossible It's unbelievable if it was for the ladies to retire at 32. But Keegan Messing, who is still very much an athletic person and has moments where he shines, I'm pretty sure he was on the podium for Canadian Nationals if he didn't even win it himself. He is retiring. And as always, he was just a showman with happy-go-lucky attitude, wearing plaid, the Canadian cowboy that we all know and love. And it was just a very sweet performance, knowing that it's going to be his last. And I'm just going to miss him. I feel like he's going to leave a very tangible vacuum, especially for Canadian skating, given the fact that Canadians have kind of lost their place in international competitions in terms of being on the podium every other competition. I feel like they always had someone in a discipline that was ranking high, but with Keegan retiring, I feel like they're going to truly have a vacuum there that needs to be filled with some new names and some new characters from Canada. He is also another staple character that we know in figure skating that is leaving us. So I am yearning for more people that we get to know, their stories, their background. But at the same time, I am very, very happy that he is retiring on his own terms, still very much in a good place in his career, and I can't wait for him to just go back home and be a dad. He loves his baby, he's always showing it off, so it doesn't surprise me that he's retiring now. But figure skating will be missing a plaid-wearing Canadian cowboy. And I think this tweet said it best: figure skating and the flannel economy will not be the same without you. And that's just perfect for Keegan Messing. His love for Canada, his love for the sport will be just missed. And his raw athleticism will be missed in terms of the men's as well. Then we get to our top 5. In 5th place, we have Jason Brown, who a lot of people were rooting for, not just because he's Jason Brown, but because a lot of people think, and me included, that he had a genuine chance at this podium. The thing, though, is that Jason Brown, in order to have a chance at a world medal here, was beholden to anyone else messing up in order for him to get there. Because Jason Brown does not have as much technical elements, as much hard jumps as the rest of his competitors. So unless they made a mistake, he really wasn't going to get there. And like I said, everyone of this competition was pretty solid. And so he just didn't make it. However, when it comes to skating skills and performance, probably only Shoma can keep up with Jason, because Jason is by far the best performer amongst these top 5 men. However, now that he's skating more for himself and not really for competition, his technical elements, he's not even attempting harder jumps and harder quads, or even quads at all. He's more focused on the performance. And I'm fine with it, because I don't watch Jason Brown for his jumps. I watch him for his skating skills, for his performance, for his theatrics, for his emoting. So I am completely fine with him trading in skill level for consistency and just beautiful performances. And that's what he gave here. And he had a really good shot at this. And him being top 5, I think, really solidifies his place in the figure skating world. A lot of people didn't even think he would be skating still at such a high level at this point in his career after the Olympics. But I think him being in the sport is really good, because I don't know if I can take another staple of our sport just leaving. Keegan's left and so many others have left, and Jason Brown retiring would just not make me happy. And him being there, being such a good representative of what male figure skating can be, is just perfect for the sport. And top 5 is still something to be very proud of at a world competition. In 4th place, we have, surprisingly, the French Kevin Amos. And I say surprisingly because the last few times we've seen this man, he has almost imploded during his jumps. We have seen some of the worst and scariest falls from Kevin Amos, but here he landed them. And that is always a surprise with Kevin Amos, just because his ups and downs are so up and so down. But no matter what, he always gives a great show, and that he did here. That paired with the consistency landed him in 4th place, just 2.97 points ahead of Jason Brown. It was really a toss-up between the two of them. But Kevin Amos had just, I think, a little bit more technical prowess. And you know what? Given the fact that he hasn't even talked about retiring, I am happy that he finally got his flowers here, that he finally got to shine when it mattered most, honestly. It was the free that made the difference between Jason and Kevin. And Kevin, I believe, could very well have had one of his best free skates in a while. He literally ended in tears because he couldn't believe it. And happy tears this time. Not sad crying tears, like happy tears tears when finishing the competition. There were like a lot of emotional moments in this competition, but this one was, I believe, the most because we've just seen him go through such hardship. And he's such a beautiful talent on the ice that when finally it just clicks together, you can't help but get emotional alongside with him. And like I said, I think he still has a lot to give and wants to give a lot to the sport. So him being at such high position, I hope just gives him the boost of confidence that he needs in order to keep this consistency going for the next season. Honestly, I'm just very happy Kevin got this moment and this validation to keep him going. In third place, we have another surprise, Ilya Malinov. The quad god himself ended up in bronze. Can you believe that? That was surprising to me because while he had a great short, or a good short, let's say, he had an awful costume. Ilya, I thought we had talked about this. Why? Why are you dressed like a waiter? With murder gloves on top of that. Like, why are you wearing all black with murder gloves? Like, one little gold chain cannot fix this outfit. This is a horrendous outfit. This is for Worlds? Invest in yourself. I need you to dress like a top skater that you are. I need you to at least care about your brand. Elevate your brand. At least give us something that we can edit nicely, not this. Honestly, all black pants with an all black button down is unacceptable. Anyways, for his free, we had a slight improvement on the costume because we went from unacceptable to basic. Every just gradient blue top for men's and figure skating is a must at any point in your career, but he's way too advanced in his career to be doing these kind of costumes. But at least it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just basic as fuck. However, his jumps in the free were not perfect. He had a lot of very tight landings and some shaky exits. And given this intense competition for the men's at a Worlds, anything other than perfect was not going to give Ilya that gold medal. It was going to put it in jeopardy and put it right in the hands of Shoma Ono if he wanted to get it. So again, it put him in the position that unless somebody else messed up, he wasn't going to place any higher than a bronze. And that is exactly what happened. His exits were shaky, his landings were a little bit too tight, not to mention his components are never going to be as high as the rest of his competitors. That is definitely his weakest link. So he landed in bronze, which is nothing to be ashamed of. Bronze is still an amazing placement at a Worlds, but he has so much potential in so many areas where he can improve, including the costumes. Yes, this is part of the sport. I don't care what anyone says. So I am really happy that he kind of had this moment to kind of reflect. He is still young. There's still a lot of career left for him. And him being out of bronze just gives him even more motivation for next season. And this meme of him looking like a little kitty redeems any mistake he's ever done in my eyes because it's just adorable. He's just a little kitty that needs to be taught better, especially with the costumes. In second place, we have the best surprise. Another surprise, which is the best surprise because we have the one, the only, my baby, Jun Hauk. Jun Hauk. Jun Hauk. I have manifested this into existence. You can't tell me otherwise. I have manifested that my baby Jun is finally having his moment. I've been talking all season about he's so close. I just want him to have his moment. I just need him to become a superstar in Korea. And here he is making it onto a world podium. Not only that, but beating Ilya Malinov for silver. Him walking away with a silver at this competition would have not been in my radar at the very least. This is also the first world medal that a Korean has won since Yuna Kim. Since Kim Yuna herself. Like, this is an astounding achievement for Jun Hauk, and I did not see it coming. And I'm so glad that his performance finally came together at the right time. Like, it's honestly insane that this happened given how up and down his track record has been this entire season. Always missing the podium by a little bit. And then walking away with silver at this competition is something I would not have predicted. His free, also his freaking free, the James Bond program, it was like I was seeing it with new eyes. It has become my favorite of the two, which I kind of felt lukewarm about, but this James Bond program, the building, the performance that he gives, how he infuses it with so much tension, it might be honestly my favorite Jun Hauk performance now, and dare I say, this might be the best skate he's ever had. That free is insane. Go look it up right freaking now. And it makes me excited for him next season to keep this momentum going because it's just gonna place him, he is right on the cusp of superstar. And if he keeps it up and he lands on the podium time and time again, and even snags a gold, maybe just once, he is just poised to be an international superstar, and God, Lord knows we need one in the sport. Also, the collective gasp when the scores came up, he couldn't believe it. I just love it. I freaking love it. It was a good way for us Jun Hauk stands. My love, keep up the good work. Finally, in first place, you know it, I know it, we all know it. It is the one, the only, the man of the season, Shoma Uno. This was his competition to lose, his competition to win, and he did in his home country of all places. So it's truly the best way for him to end the season. It was a season that he already dominated, and for him to just win it all in the end is such an amazing feeling. And it felt like it was like a nice little bow to tie everything together. The ultimate prize of winning gold at a Worlds in his own country. Also, the little fall he had at the end was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I always forget just how cute Shoma Uno is. And it's honestly insane he did this so seamlessly, because it was reported that he was injured. That he twisted his ankle as recently as the practice for Worlds, like a day before, and allegedly limped off the ice with the help of other skaters. So seeing him not only perform so well, so strongly, but walk away with gold is insane, and talks and just shows how strong he is, not only physically but mentally, to push through and not let that setback of twisting his ankle so recently psych him out. Like, he's not gonna let that injury psych him out because he has a goal and he's determined. It's probably the most focused I've ever seen him against Stefan Lambiel. I don't know what you're doing with Shoma Uno, but it is insanely effective, and he's just, it's his peak. It's his peak era. He is a back-to-back world champion with an injury. Like, congratulations to all the men, and especially to Shoma Uno for just being at the peak of his career. And I truly believe that. Now, before we jump into the girls, I do want to give a special shout out to the Japanese pairs team that actually won the world title, Miura and Kihara, because they are the first Japanese pairs team to ever win a world title, and their reaction might have been my favorite reaction of the entire competition. Their reaction to winning was priceless. Kihara was frozen for like a good 5 seconds. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Meanwhile, Miura was crying, sobbing uncontrollably next to her, and then they all both look at each other and they just both start crying together, and they're just hugging and they're all sweaty. I don't know, it was just the most heartwarming I felt the entire competition. So shout out to them. Again, a great competition for Japan, because the pairs, even the pairs, a discipline that has never been dominated by Japan, walked away with a gold medal from Japan. Insane. Now, on to the ladies, the reason you're all here. The girlies. Let's start with 15th place, which was given to Brady Know. This was at the same time surprising but also expected. Like, I didn't expect her to be in the top 10, maybe a little bit closer, but it was also not surprising that she ended up in 15th place. Because while I do think she had a great short, like even she couldn't believe how well she performed, the free was not it, and it kind of sealed her fate. And even if she did have both perfect performances, she would have maybe made it to the top 10. I just don't think she was poised to win this competition. I don't think it was meant for her. But again, her just being back and being strong and having consistent performances throughout the last few competitions is the real win for Brady Know. So props to her. In 13th place, we had the Canadian Madeline Skizas, who did not have a great outing and was visibly disappointed in herself. Madeline has been consistently inconsistent in her competition. That's probably the only consistency she's had lately, is just the inconsistency. And she probably will not have a real chance at any podium unless she performs 2 clean performances, which has been a struggle for her the entire season and last season too. And I wanted to highlight her because now she's truly the only Canadian name that I know and I follow now that Keegan Messing has retired. And I know there are other Canadian skaters, but they never really have reached the heights which they had back in the early 2000s and even in the 90s. Like, Canada is such a figure skating country, and them having this vacuum of characters, of athletes in figure skating that consistently perform well is kind of crazy to see. So I really hope that Madeline Skizas can get it together and can be the best representative that Canada can hope for in the ladies discipline. Right above her in 12th place, we have the second love of my life, Amber Glenn, who had a serviceable short, but kind of fell apart in the free. And it wasn't like a disaster. It's not like she didn't do it great, but after the triple axel was a flop, after she kind of had a really bad exit out of it. I feel like it just destroyed her confidence, and the rest of the skating was just like, okay, let's just get through this. And yeah, I feel like she felt a little bit distraught after she couldn't land the triple axel. And honestly, without it, there was just no way she was going to place any higher or even make it to the top 10. But again, even with a triple axel, there was only so far she could go in this competition given her competitors. I still think Amber should be proud of the season, even though she might not be proud of this particular competition. Now, jumping all the way to our top 5. In 5th place, we have Maya Mihara, who also had a moment at this Worlds, getting a standing ovation after her short, also coming back from injury, and I'm really happy that she had that moment with her home crowd. But the free had more than a few kinks, and it took her down to 5th. Like, any chance she had at placing on the podium kind of fell apart in the free, just because you could tell she was just pushing and pushing through it. But again, she's coming back from recovery from an injury, and she has spoken openly about the fact that she has like young onset arthritis. So I believe that she truly had a marquee moment in the short, and she should not be disappointed about this competition at all, because she showed the potential that she can have next season. And again, top 5 at a Worlds is a great thing, and you should always be proud of that. So, Maya Mihara, we're cheering for you. In 4th place, we had the American Isabel Levito. This one was kind of surprising when I first saw it, but then I was like, you know what? It does make sense, because unless she was given the best performance of her life, Isabel was just not going to be on the podium, because the competition between the Japanese and Luna Hendricks, do not forget, is intense. And she kind of had the same Jason Brown situation where she was beholden to other people making mistakes. That was honestly the most secure way she was going to make it to the podium, is if other people weren't perfect and she was. And that's just not what happened. However, she should be extremely proud of herself, because she is finally back, and I believe had a lot of pressure, because she had to prove a lot in this competition, given the fact that she suddenly dropped out of 4 continents. Till this day, people are still talking about what happened there. And so she had a lot of eyes on this competition, because a lot of people were doubting her competitive nature. Can she do it? Can she go from competition to competition and still give it her all? And you know what? She did. She showed up and she gave 2 very deserving performances, only missing out on bronze by 4 points. I think she should be very proud of herself and consider this a win on a personal front, because she walks away not just with another competition, international competition experience under her belt, but she was the highest ranking US lady at the competition. And although that might feel like a no-brainer given her position in the US, I still think it is something to be proud of. And 4th place, she was just so close. Her short was amazing. You could tell just how proud she was of herself, just being back there, giving it her grit and her best. But in the free, she felt disappointed in herself, and you could tell that she was kind of fighting through it. And that's okay. The same way as Ilya Malinov, she's young, and it gives her something to reach for next season. So next year is still very soon for her in her career, and is very close within the realm of possibility that she could end up on the podium the next World. So Isabel Levito, I find this as a win in the personal level, because she proved to the world that she is a strong competitor and that she can actually show up in front of all these people and give it her best. In 3rd place, we have an older and more experienced skater, the forever fan favorite, Luna Hendricks, who I believe had a solid outing and showcased the best of her abilities. I am still obsessed with the music from her short. Not so much with the dress. The bright neon colors kind of always put me off a little bit, but she infuses the short with so much energy that I end up believing her fantasy. I am falling for the fantasy, and the song just does it for me. She always is such a ray of sunshine on the ice, and I think that she is the perfect competitor because she takes competition very seriously, and I think she thrives under pressure, and that's exactly what happened here. Luna was very surprised to end up in bronze, and her reaction to winning at the Kiss and Cry as well as backstage always endears me because she's always just as surprised every time she does well. She's kind of like the Taylor Swift of figure skating in that way. You remember with little baby Taylor Swift, every time she won, she was just as surprised as the last time. This is Luna Hendricks this season because Luna Hendricks has had probably one of the best seasons, one of the best outcomes due to the absence of the Russians. And she is soaking it up. She's taking advantage every second that she gets, which is what I wanted more from the Americans. But seeing Luna just snatch up the opportunity makes me so proud of her. And you can tell she's such a hard worker and a fan of the sport, especially alongside her brother/coach. So any good that comes her way, I love it. I love it. Luna Hendricks in third place is amazing, astounding, show-stopping, and well-deserved. In second place, we have the mother of all surprises, the name that was not even in my head for the podium, Hae-in Lee. The Korean skater, Hae-in Lee. This was such a good competition, not just for Hae-in Lee, but for Korea, because they walked away not with one, but 2 world medals, which again, Korea has not had since Kim Yoona retired. And having a female skater rise so high in such a prolific high stakes competitions like World in front of the new ISU president who's also from South Korea just makes me delighted and makes me feel like I've truly manifested the rise of figure skating in Korea, because having a female and male skater do so well just in front of the ISU president who's also from South Korea, I just know that figure skating is going to be pushed so much and is going to be just have a rise. There's just no other way. The popularity of the sport is going to rise in South Korea, and I'm just ready for it. I really am. And again, Hae-in Lee, I think probably had the best free skate of her life as well. Same thing as Jun Hauk. The parallels are kind of amazing. And I just hope that the sport is carried to the highest of highs in Korea. I am overjoyed for Hae-in Lee, and I really do hope that she continues to have this level of success in her career and helps Jun carry the torch for the rest of figure skaters in Korea. Hae-in Lee, I'm your hope, you're my Hae-in Lee hope. Finally, our world champion once again is none other than the light of my life, Kaori Sakamoto. She came to this competition to shut down all the doubters, all the haters who were saying she might not make it this year. She's been too up and down. But you know what? She got her hair done. She got her highlights. She got her new costume. The best come up of her short was the fact that she had this costume on. And she gave us the most energetic performance she's ever given us of that short. And it was amazing. Like, the step sequence was insane. The kick, I've never seen her do it with so much power. And in the free, she stayed clean. She stayed consistent. She stayed just as powerful and therefore managed to snag the title once again. Another back-to-back world champion. It's insane. It's insane. Japan and South Korea were just having the best day. Also, the clip of Kaori Sakamoto running through the crowd with the 2 bodyguards trying to catch up behind her is the best thing I've ever seen. It's probably the best thing the entire competition. And she, for that alone, deserves an additional award. So Kaori Sakamoto, well done, well deserved. Congratulations to our 2 back-to-back world champions, Shoma Uno, Kaori Sakamoto for the ladies. The pairs for Japan, have no idea what happened in ice dance. Don't really care, honestly. And yeah, tell me what you guys thought of this world. I thought it was a great, great world. So many good moments. Everybody was extremely consistent. Don't know what's in the water in Japan, but love it. Always love seeing a very full stadium of people. Love that the popularity in Japan is still continuing for figure skating. Hopefully we can get it back up in Korea and in the USA. And yeah, and my favorite performance was by far Jun's Bond, his free, and Kaori Sakamoto running through a crowd. That was my favorite. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, shout out to Katie, Corina, Leslie, Natalia, Timothy, Tori, V, and new Patreon VIP alert, but this time it's a little bit different because the name is Eteri. Excuse me? I don't know which one of y'all out there did this. This is funny. I hope it's a joke. It better be a joke and you're not a Terry. But yeah, now a Terry is one of my VIP patrons. I really hope your name is actually a Terry or this is a joke. It has to be one of those two because I cannot contemplate the other option. But yeah, the VIP patrons this month include a Terry. And I'll talk to you guys later, including a Terry apparently. Bye bye.